Hey graduates, welcome back to my channel. So we are going to talk about a recent case that came out about this South African teacher who went to China and experienced extreme racism. Now, you know what I find really interesting is how the internet has more or less downplayed this story because it's like nobody wants to realize that there are still severe treatments against Black people in this country. I know for a fact that China tends to censor anything negative that goes out about their country since COVID, especially. But this story was leaked, and I think it's important that we recognize it. And then it's also important that we draw some parallels with some of the things that happens in our island, Jamaica. Take a listen to what this teacher has to say.
Hello, my name is Olusindiso. I'm from South Africa. I'm currently based in Shanghai, China, and I work as a kindergarten teacher. On Wednesday, August 23rd, during a disagreement, the HR manager at my job, a guy, punched me on my face. After he punched me and I was screaming, trying to get out of his office, he pushed me down on the couch, telling me that I needed to sit down. I screamed and I was trying to get my phone so I can take pictures and videos of what was happening. Instead, he grabbed my phone and said he didn't have my phone anymore. I don't know how I got out of the office, but somehow I got out, and I was running in the passage of this kindergarten trying to get help. There were various women there. All of them just watched and did nothing. I managed to run to the stairs, but by the time I got to the stairs, he was already there, and he was preventing me from going past him. I was screaming, but he was pulling me, preventing me from leaving. I don't know what came to my head, but I thought about a different exit, and I ran towards the different exit, but he was chasing me. And during the time that he was chasing me, he was singing a song, humming a song, as though to distract me in case so that I can fall and he can catch me. I managed to get out of the building, and there was another lady outside the building shouting for the securities officers to close the gate so I wouldn't get out. But what happened is the security officer made a mistake. Instead of closing the gate, he opened the gate, and then I ran, managing to get out. By the time I got out, I had no shoes on, no socks on. They had taken my phone. I had no bag on. It was just me and nothing on my hands. I didn't know what to do, so I started walking on the streets, and I came across a young Chinese lady. Asked her if she speak English, and she said yes. I asked her to call the cops. She called the cops arrived, and we went back to the kindergarten. When we arrived at the kindergarten, they had gathered everything that belonged to me on the table, telling me that the reason why they were preventing me from leaving is because they wanted me to calm down so they can call the cops to resolve the issue, despite the fact that I wasn't feeling safe, and that is why I wanted to run away. Then the guy who had punched me told the cops that he did not punch me, that I hit my eye on the couch. I asked them to release the CCTV footage of the building while I was running, and they said they don't have it. We went to the police station. At the police station, the vice principal who saw everything happen said that she didn't see anything, and that when this guy might have hit me, she was on the phone, so she didn't see anything. When I arrived there, the cops basically told me that my visa is expiring next week, and I do not have proof that this guy has hit me, and therefore I needed to settle. Feeling like I didn't have a choice, I ended up settling for compensation. I'm making this video because there are so many of us out here who are suffering under the hands of our employers, who continue to disobey the law and treat us very poorly. And I'm also making this video because I feel very powerless in this situation. They told me that if I talk to anybody or go to the media about the situation, then they would sue me and I would have to go to jail or get deported. They also threatened to put me on some teachers blacklist in China so that I would never get a job in China. They also refused to give me any documents that would allow me to work anywhere else in China during this moment. But I'm not okay with just keeping quiet and pretending like this is okay and nothing happened. And I hope if you're seeing this video, you pass it to as many people as possible so that people know that this happens to me.
So just to update you guys, the South African teacher has since left Shanghai, China, and she has migrated to Germany where she is safe and sound. I can just imagine that she would have been done, she would have done so by force after coming out in public about her ordeal, and that they did carry out their threats to make sure that she's unable to work in China as a teacher. But I don't see why she'd want to stay. You know, it's interesting that people are basically saying, well, why do you go there to teach in the first place, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to share with you one thing. The Chinese have more or less settled in the UK's education system on a tertiary and university level. And they have been doing so in large numbers for, I would say, the past 5-6 years especially. There has been some agreement made with China that the UK has more or less opened up its educational borders to allow them to come here to study in an English-speaking environment. And they will then go back to the country that they're from with a wealth of knowledge and being able to be bilingual, right? Speaking English is a big deal in China because they recognize that the English language is the world power language. So in terms of the economies that are strongest, if you're not able to negotiate in English, it puts you at a disadvantage, okay? So they have recruited far and wide for English-speaking teachers to come into their country to educate their children. It's not just in South Africa. Many Jamaican teachers have also been to China so that they can, basically live for a few years teaching their children, and they get more or less everything covered. Right. Now, you would think that because China wants this for their children and wants to advance in terms of an English-speaking competitive market, that they would facilitate these teachers from other cultures the best way possible. I'm sure that generally they do, because everybody has mixed experiences about teaching English in China. There are lots of TikTok videos that show that Black teachers don't always have a horrible experience in the schools that they're at. But all of them have said the same thing, that the people of China are very underexposed when it comes to people of other races, particularly Black people, that they react in a very ignorant way whenever they're seen in public.
You want to take it with?
Wait.
Yeah. You want to take a picture? Okay, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. You want a picture too? It doesn't stop.
Like for part 2.
With the flag.
Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't find exoticism complimentary at all. I don't think that it's okay for anybody to put you as some kind of rare find whenever they come across you, to the point where they wish to capture your image and take it to wherever to do whatever. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that there is this whole thing, this documentary, you can Google it, where some Chinese man had gone into an African village, had the African children dressing up in rags, dancing for the camera, and then he was selling these videos videos so that they could do greetings for people for Christmas and other special occasions. And he was making money off them and paying them pittance. So all of their images went out there for capitalist gain. And this Chinese guy was not giving them their due pay. So he was taking all the money for himself. A kind of modern day slavery, if you can imagine. So with that said, somebody just coming up to you to take a picture of you because you're the first Black person that they have seen is not necessarily a good thing when you don't know how those images are going to be used. They may be thinking, oh, you're so cool, you're different, blah, blah, blah. And they present a picture to somebody else of you. And then you end up being the brunt of mockery, where they end up turning around and say, my goodness, he's as black as night, looks like a monkey, blah, blah, blah. Where did you find this Neanderthal man? You know, there's so many things, negative things that can come out of somebody taking your image away just for the pure sake of you being exotic in their eyes. It really is an opportunity to teach these people that their ignorance is unfounded in a world where there is so much media, and even China is very much into media. They have access to a lot of American movies, American television, and they know what Black people do look like. Now, okay, fair enough if you end up in a very archaic village somewhere up in the mountaintops, and they have definitely never even seen American TV, and they don't know what Black people look like. You may end up being the center of attention, but these people won't be wanting to take your picture necessarily to go away with it, okay? But it is not a pleasant situation to be in. Now, we're going to think that, you know, okay, maybe this is just an African experience, and, you know, maybe they're reacting that way to Africans, but do Jamaicans have this experience in China? Remember I said that Jamaican teachers went to China too. Okay, well, I want you to just take a look at this short clip of a Jamaican teacher walking through the streets of China.
Just another day as a Black person living in China.
Tell me why this lady follow me. That's her. And then she'll go act like say she never just a video me. Like, come on. Just ask. Simple.
Now, China has always had these derogatory beliefs when it comes to people of a darker skin. And I'm also talking about shadism within their own society. I have met other Chinese women who have decided they'll never return to China on the basis of the fact that they're treated like village girls because their complexion is more tanned than their other female, you know, counterparts. So they have got a tan skin, and they say that they're treated like village girls in the farms because of the shade they have. It's a deeper tone. So this is not just coming from us. This is coming from China's ancestry, so to speak. I want you to listen though to how Black people were treated during the COVID pandemic in China, and you will see that even in modern times, a lot of these people are still struggling with accepting other people of different races, particularly Blacks.
Remind you also that in April 2020, Africans were being forced to test for COVID in a city from China. There were restaurants that refused to serve Black customers. Africans were sleeping on the streets, although they had paid their Chinese landlords their due rent. At the departmental store, there was an African woman that was denied entry while her white friend was allowed in. At a McDonald's restaurant, there was a notice up saying, Black people cannot come in. So our people must realize that China, like all other foreign powers, is not in Africa to serve the interests of Africans, but to pursue its agenda that will have the country and the continent crippled in the name of investment when it is actually looting. The only difference between us and the youth of 1976 is that we share the same skin color as our oppressor today. Our people today are not dying from wars, but from economies, whereby certain powers must pull nations down. I do not hate the Chinese. Rather, I hate their well-calculated mission of taking over Africa.
Now, what I loved about that speech is that this guy is not just talking about how Africans were treated in China during the pandemic and the inhumane reactions to their own health and well-being, but he is drawing that parallel to the fact that the Chinese are making calculated moves to take over African resources. Not all racism is as blatant as calling you the N-word or calling you derogatory names. Some racism is overt and some are covert. Overt means that it's out there and in your face, and covert means that it's hidden and subtle. Okay. Despite modern times, the Chinese insist on treating blacks as though they are less than human. Imagine being in a country where you have come to study, you have come to contribute to the economy, and you are being denied basic human rights as accommodation on the basis that you are black, okay? Where landlords are telling you that you can't rent because of the color of your skin.
It was really unnerving for me, and I was visibly very sad and very angry, and I just really didn't know what to do at that point. I'd only been in the country for about 3 or 4 days at that point, and I had gone there to study Chinese. I was so excited to meet Chinese people. I was so excited to just have this immersive experience finally after I'd been studying Chinese for so long in college and on my own prior to that. And when I got there, I just realized how much of an other I actually was. And it was just a really depressive situation for me. So eventually, like 1 or 2 days later, that landlord then came to our school and wanted to find me, and she took me out and had a conversation with me, and basically what she said was, it's not that I don't want you to live here because you're black, it's because you're foreign. And I don't know if she was trying to cover, I don't know if that's better or whatever, but it was just really weird. It was just really weird. And I really hope that other people don't have to experience things like that, because it's a moment that I've never forgotten in my life. Eventually I found a better apartment, thankfully, that I wound up liking a lot more. But that really kind of sullied my opinion of China when I first got there. A couple of months went by, and I definitely will say that I had some malice in my heart toward that situation. And then afterward, I kind of began thinking a little bit and trying to not make myself think that the actions of one person were representative of the whole. There's actually a Chinese saying that's 一概而论, which basically means you take the actions of one to be representative of the whole. And I realized that if I wanted to have a clear and candid opinion of Chinese people, that I would have to look past that situation and to look at people as individuals rather than looking at them in terms of whatever I perceive them to perceive me as. So yeah, that was one of my most extreme examples of racism in China.
Now, obviously, as this speaker said, you can't really blame all Chinese people for the actions of a few or of one. But it is an indication to you that there is a cross-section of that community that still to this day carries these archaic values, and that this kind of mentality that goes unchallenged can seep into third world nations as the Chinese continue to migrate, populate, and take over economical systems in those countries. Jamaicans on a whole are very open and accepting of other races and other cultures. We embrace them. We do not have a problem with anybody from any other country coming to our island to live, to work. And as a result of that, because we are such a welcoming set of people, many times these other cultures come in and they settle in our country, and before you know it, they have acquired certain resources that locals could never acquire. Many times it's to do with economics, purely because their money is strong. They're able to afford the amenities, they're able to afford the resources, and that puts people who are less advantaged at a disadvantage. Now, we're not going to say that the Chinese population has not brought added value to the Jamaican culture, and that there aren't some really good Chinese Jamaicans out there. We know that the Chinese population that has settled in the island has contributed a lot, particularly to the culinary world, the world of retail, and even in the tourism industries. There are established businesses that have employed many Jamaicans and has helped to boost the economy. We have got to give them that. But repeatedly on social media, we are seeing some videos arise of Chinese shopkeepers being very disrespectful to locals, often for no reason, sometimes for good reason. And the reaction of the Jamaican population is to laugh, to make fun of them because they're doing it with the Jamaican accent. To everybody, it sounds cute. But I don't think we realize the seriousness behind it. So I really appreciated this guy's take on it on TikTok. And I want you to listen to what he has to say about how the Jamaican Chinese, or the Chinese settled in Jamaica, treat local people.
Alright, so I've been seeing a lot of these videos, right? And you know the thing is, it hurt me. It don't hurt me for the Chinese them, it hurt me for Uno as Jamaican. Because when we get up and say the government that sell out the country to the Chinese them, but yet still, we still a bow to them. So we wanna expect. By asking a question, them can listen and tell them about no mama. Them can tell us on the mouth stink and whatever, right? This is no wicked. But make another Jamaican tell you that and say, your mind sharp, your ears say, them go pick up him body round this. I'm not telling us if we go kill him. Be careful. But me just show you how angry one is against on own. If a Jamaican run a shop or a wholesale, and a Jamaican tell on us on the mouth think I come out of my shop, me guarantee you 100%, we not go back to that Jamaican shop there. Literally, we not go back there, and every time we not pass this so, we not go throw on the word. Every time. But the Chinese can tell you no, anything them feel like, deal with them any how them feel like, pay on what them feel like, pay on. I want to sit down and still bow to it. Like really? If me did this so, me I walk out. Straight up. Me, I walk out. My money now spend this so, knowing that you this my black brother or my black sister. You idiot? Me, I walk out. You understand? You only know if you take a stand against your own, but you don't know if you take a stand against others. You can't come for me and tell me some racist. Me a Chinese in my blood, moving a blood clot. I speak my mind anyhow I feel. And me I go tell you how I feel. Since the Chinese them can tell you how them feel and tell you what they want, shut the fuck up and make me tell you how I feel and tell you what I want to. Me a here brother, I'm here black brother. Since them can't tell you anything, let me tell you too. Fear is fear then. You understand? Fear is fear. Cause someone in life come on and in my video come talk about you're racist, you know, and this is how you're racist against your own kind. If you accept them something here, you understand? In our own country. You think you can go to China go do that? You think you can go to China I run a wholesale or there them place Taiwan I run a wholesale and I disrespect them? Oh, you have to lock down that. And ask that. Me not telling us if we go throw a big stone. Me not telling us if we go fight. But you can't stop. Go shop at them place. When you sister them a deal with us black brother and sister certain way, you walk out. I want you on the foot. I want bring you in there. How for money I spend? You think I borrow the money from them? Walk out. Come out. What I'm doing, man?
I love the fact that he is not trying to perpetrate any violence. He is just making it very clear that you have got some authority in your own country to respond when these people are being disrespectful. just recognize that culturally, a lot of the people that have migrated straight from China to our island are from that background where they are ignorant of other races, that they look down on Black people. It is not an uncommon thing. And even though they settle in our island, some of them assimilate the culture. They end up, ending up in relationships with Jamaicans, having half Black, half Chinese children, and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean that their racist mentality has been erased. Some of it is lessened, passed on to their children. They are walking around with these stereotypes and these beliefs. So it's not 100% that they have completely started to accept Black people as equals, right? They often look down on us as though we are not worthy of being in the same space as them. Yet a lot of our money actually goes into their wealth. A lot of Chinese make our hair products. They ship those out to Black countries for sale. The wigs, the weaves, the extensions, a lot of it comes from China. A huge part of their industry is all about our economics. We give them the money so that they can carry on making these things, and we make a lot of them wealthy. I don't think that it is impossible that there are many who have settled in the island who do not have this mentality at all. But I think if they were to ever be honest to their fellow Black Jamaicans, they would be able to say that somebody in their family still thinks like this, but they may have broken away from it. Somebody in their family taught them these ways of thinking about Black people, but they have broken away from it. It is about time that we develop a kind of awareness within our island of racism, because our island is no longer just about the descendants of indentured laborers and slaves now moving on through a similar historical past into a modern times. We have now opened up our borders to all sorts of people from different races coming into our island to live and to build the economy. Therefore, racism will follow where there are people who are coming from histories like China. And our people are often very ignorant of racism because they are not used to it. You only really become sensitized to racism when you step outside of Jamaica, because we are used to seeing people with our color in positions of power. We're very aware of shadeism, but racism tends to kind of not really be our area of focus. I think it's time that our people in Jamaica are aware of racism, because it happens right there in the island. Think about the way that Jamaicans are treated when they go on certain beaches, when they enter certain premises where they're told no locals because they are prioritizing tourists. There's a lot of discrimination that happens on the basis of race, okay? And also on the basis of culture as well. If you are not socialized in a certain way, classism will always raise its ugly head at different times. But as I said, we are very aware of those things. We're aware of classes, and we're aware of being discriminated on the basis of our skin tone. Yeah, so shadeism is a thing, or they call it colorism. But we are not yet sensitized to racism in our own island. And it's time that we start to learn exactly what the signs are so that we can protect ourselves. And that legislations are brought into practice in our island that makes it very clear that such treatment against others on the basis of race is actually a crime. So, for example, over here in a big foreign, if you commit any kind of racism, there's records of it or whatever, it is definitely a crime. You can get arrested for that. You can get tried for it. You can get time for it, depending on the severity of the situation. So because of that, everybody over here is all kind of, politically correct. And you end up with a lot more covert, hidden racism or systemic racism than you would end up with racism being in your face. Right. Anyway, guys, like I said, this is more about awareness. It's about educating you to the cultures of people that we are letting into our country so that you can know how to respond should it happen to you. This is your girl, Head Teacher K.